what drives me absolutely crazy is that social media makes it look like every American and their neighbor has $1 million sitting in their retirement account. They're posting screenshots and they make it seem like hitting that 7-figure mark is just what normal people do. And if you haven't done that, then there must be something wrong with you. But here's what nobody's telling you. That's complete nonsense. Do you want to know the real number? Only about 3% of Americans have $1 million sitting in their retirement accounts. That's 3 out of every 100 people. So if you're sitting there feeling behind, like everybody else has got stuff figured out that you missed somehow, well, you're not. You're fine. You're normal. And today I'm going to show you how to get an idea of how much you really need for your retirement lifestyle. Not some fancy guru's idea of what he thinks you should have, but what you would actually look forward to and enjoy, and it feels like your life. So if you're ready to ditch that $1 million myth and figure out what your retirement number is, then gently hit the like button and let's dive into it. Okay, so here's where things really get interesting. You might be thinking, Jennifer, I've heard that 18% of Americans are millionaires. That's way more than 3%. And you're right. That is what the reports say. 18% of American households are millionaires. And that is because they're talking about net worth. They're not talking about how much money someone has in their retirement account ready to spend on retirement. They're talking about their total assets, which is usually a house that's seen some very good appreciation, and probably some cars, maybe a business, some financial accounts, and all their other assets that make up their life. And you add that up together and you subtract their debt, and they have $1 million net worth, which is great. But it's not quite the same thing as having a household and then having $1 million in your account. Home equity isn't liquid. It's not easy to turn into cash in a really short-term situation. And also stocks aren't liquid. You can't go to the drugstore and pay with a stock certificate. But at least that you can get within a week or so. And that's what makes a difference between having your money in a retirement account versus having it be the number of your net worth. But both will work, right? So let's get real. As someone who's planning to retire at retirement age, not someone who's 35 years old, planning to retire early, using the FIRE movement, then what do you actually need to retire? So here's what changes everything. Someone who's going to retire at their full retirement age, let's say that's 67, already has been on Medicare since they were 65. They've already been able to take out Social Security from, I think, age 62. And they also are able to take money out of their 401k and retirement accounts if they want to. But hopefully they're not touching that yet. So you have a totally different set of parameters. You can see the income that you would have coming in, and you just need to know if that income is enough or if it needs to be supplemented. Here's where that $1 million figure comes in that everybody quotes on social media. It comes from the 4% rule, which is the Trinity study. It was done in 1998, which is getting a little out of date now. And what they calculated when they looked at historical perspectives of how the stocks and bond market did over 30 years, they projected that if someone had $1 million, they could safely take out about 4%, which would be $40,000 every year for around 30 years. Even with the fluctuation in the markets, they thought that that was a pretty safe number. And it keeps most of the money in the markets working for the retirees and is pretty stable. That was kind of held up as the golden rule of what to do. And that's what all the early retiree FIRE movement, the financial independence, retire early movement was about, is if you just put that number together ahead of time, then you can go ahead and retire. That doesn't apply to most of us, and that's why we don't need that $1 million. Now let's roll up our sleeves and really take a look at what your retirement number would be. The first thing to do is to look at your net income. Look at how much you bring home net, cash from your check, not that big figure that the company is paying you, but what you actually bring home. Look at what's applied to housing, transportation, insurance, and other things that you spend it on. Then try to imagine how that would fit into your retirement lifestyle. All right, so now you need to get personal, right? You need to think, what would you like to do in retirement? Are you planning to stay in the larger house that you've been in for a few years or maybe a few decades? Is that going to be too big? Are you going to need something smaller? Are you thinking of moving to an area that might have a lower cost of living? If you're thinking of renting, and since we've all just been through some major inflation lately, rents are tied to inflation, and that is a cost that you can't control. But if you decide to buy something for retirement, then you can control that cost and you can pay it down and sometimes pay it off. So that would make a big difference in your retirement numbers. Keep in mind that in retirement, some costs do go down, no matter what the noise is out there. You're not commuting, you're not eating out, you're not going on lunches with your workmates, you're not keeping up with the Joneses so much because you're active in different communities than you were before. So some of those costs are normally going to go down, and then some costs will go up. Generally travel. A lot of people plan some big trips for the beginning of retirement. There's also medical costs that, even though you have Medicare, they can sometimes be unpredictable. So your budget would probably be a little bit different than it is today. Tally up what income sources you're expecting to have at retirement, and then compare them to the expenses that you were just estimating. Of course, both these numbers are estimates, but at least you'll be getting an idea of what you're looking at. Hopefully, on that comparison, you're pretty happy with what you see, that you can cover the costs that you think you're going to have. Just to give you an idea about that 4% rule, let's just say you look at it and you think, oh, I wish I had an extra $1,000 every month, just to kind of play devil's advocate here. If it was the 4% rule that you were working with, it would want you to have $300,000 in your retirement account, and you would take out 4% each year, which would be $12,000. So that would give you $1,000 a month for a good period of time. They estimate around 30 years, kind of depends on things, but that's a nice conservative way to look at it. And if you've got money in your retirement accounts, then you could say, well, what if I did take out 4%, or what if I only took out 2%, or what if we did a little bit higher percentage in the beginning? So take a look at what you think would work best for you. Some people don't like to touch their retirement account, and they'd rather create some other source of income. And on my channel already, we've talked about quite a few different ways to do some gig work, do a side business, maybe monetize something that you enjoy doing and have some fun, maybe with a different community than you've been hanging out with at work. Basically, I'd like you to look at it as a puzzle. It's like all these moving parts, but I want you to realize that even those people who hit that very famous 7-figure mark by the time they get to retirement, I don't know if this is good or bad, right? But the majority of Americans do not put that much into savings until midlife or beyond, and you're not behind. You're normal, and this is normal. And now you just need to see how it's going to look and make adjustments if you need to. You are a multi-dimensional person. You are not some number on a spreadsheet. So what I would suggest as a good way to kind of keep an eye on things from now on is keep track of your net worth, just like those millionaires we talked about earlier. Bottom line here is you do not need $1 million to retire comfortably. You just need a plan and an idea of what you want to do in your retirement life. Stop comparing yourself to the reels on social media. Stop feeling behind because you don't have some arbitrary number in your account. Realize that that's just advertising and hype. Retirement planning isn't about hitting some magical number that makes you feel worthy. It's about building a life that makes you feel free. I hope this helped you see retirement planning differently. And I'd appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button if you like the content. I'm making videos every week for women over 50 to help them build wealth, plan for retirement, and create that life that they actually want. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you're doing in your retirement plan right now, and I will answer that comment. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay positive, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.